It is the 41st millennium. Mankind battles for survival across the universe, besieged on all fronts by the heretic, the mutant, and the alien. In the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war. One faction of Space Marines stands amidst the chaos, the mightiest of the Emperor's warriors, and a beacon of light in the darkness. This legion, the 9th Legion of Adeptus Astartes, the Blood Angels.
Good evening, hello. How's my sound? Because I just read a comment from last week saying that my sound was a bit meh, and other people are saying they can hear the keyboard. I guess you can hear the keyboard. Did that not used to happen? So, I don't know. I mean, I had to reformat everything. Honestly, it's been years since I set my microphone up in OBS. And I didn't save any of the settings. So, if I need to improve the microphone, let me know. If there's ever a bit in the video that sounds weird, actually shout out, like, well, point. Like, if you're watching the stream and you're 30 minutes in and the sound starts going crappy at 30 minutes in, please just shout it out so I can try and diagnose and make my sound as good as it used to be, because I feel like I had those microphone settings on point before, but honestly I've been back and forth with them so many times trying to get them right. So I said last week on my YouTube community post that I had lost some army lists. Obviously I lost my entire hard drive, so 23 people submitted lists this week, so I'm not going to be able to do all 23 lists tonight. So what I've done is I've picked all the members lists, so all you green names, all you guys that support me with actual real hard currency, hard money every month, thank you so much. You guys have got priority this week, so everybody that is a member of the channel should be getting their list done today, and then we start on the non-members. So I think we've got 4 members, 2 non-members, but there's 15 more non-members that want their lists done. I guess you guys are on next week. Yeah, but I got a lot of submissions. I got to prioritize some way. So we prioritize with the green names. Thanks so much for everybody that supports the channel on a monthly basis. I think it was Highland Phoenix has been supporting the channel. I think he might be the longest member, 37 months now. So crazy how long we've been going. And we're only just getting started, hopefully. Plenty more Blood Angels to talk about. And I keep hearing big rumours at the moment. Valrak, I know some people don't like Valrak. I don't mind him. I think he's good for rumour content. I think he's good for entertainment. He is going on and on and on about... He's actually gone as far as now to say don't buy Firstborn Marines anymore for Blood Angels because he has been convinced that the Blood Angels are getting a refresh similar to the Dark Angels refresh. So, hello everyone in chat. Afok, Aradine, Mike, Lamartez, Hadley, Maximus. I think we might be doing your list tonight, Maximus. Matthew. I think I already said hello to you, Afok. But thank you so much for the gifted membership, starting the stream off strong. Falls, nice to see you. Sketch, hello as well. Zacharias, hello as well. How are you guys all doing? I hope you're having a nice weekend. I'm having a great weekend, actually. So I started watching Empire Strikes Back with my 4-year-old today. So we finished New Hope last weekend, so we're on Empire Strikes Back now. So we're only like half an hour in. She's got a short attention span, but it's kind of fun. Okay, so hopefully we're going to look at some different lists tonight. I think we've got one Flamestorm. I think we've got a few Sons of Sanguinius. And I think we're going to start with this Vanguard one submitted by Shadow Knight. So he actually posted the list prior to games today. And he even said he hopes he's not at the end of the list now. Yes, but he has been a member of the channel for almost 2 years. So like I said, members got a bit of priority this week. This list was an experiment, but it's been working very well to my surprise. The range defensive buffs I get from Vanguard is providing my armor very difficult to deal with. Alright, I'll read the last bit once we actually look at the list. So Vanguard, in case you're not aware, Vanguard makes it -1 to hit if you're more than 12 inches away, and it gives you cover if you're more than 12 inches away. So realistically, most of the time, in turn 1 and 2 probably, most of your stuff is -1 to hit and has cover, and then obviously it kicks up throughout the rest of the game. Cool. So we've got an Apothecary Biologist and Lamartez. So I'm guessing Lamartez is going to be with 10 Death Company and the Biologist is going to be with Aggressors. But let's see. We've got 3 Centurion Devastators with Missile Launchers and Grav Cannons. Interesting choice on the Grav Cannons, actually. I think Centurion Devastators are much better with Las Cannons. It's obviously the same points to take both of them. I guess Grav Cannons are going to be very good when you fight against vehicle heavy lists, but they're not like, you know, if you run into a Monster Mash list from like Tyranids, or you run into demons or something, right, where you're actually fighting monsters and not vehicles, then Grav Cannons are pretty useless, I feel like. You get 9 shots from the Centurions, only strength 6, -1, 3 damage. I guess once you've wounded against monsters, it's not like, usually they're in an invulnerable save anyway, so I suppose the AP isn't the problem. I think the strength 6 is the problem. I think I much prefer twin Las Cannons. Yes, you get less shots, but you are twin-linked Las Cannons, and you are re-rolling hits based on Decimator Protocol. This is one of the reasons to run these guys, I feel like. The Las Cannons, plus the missiles, plus the re-rolls to hit. I think Grav Cannons are fine. I think Las Cannons are a more rounded option. We've got Death Company Dreadnought, Meltagun, and Stormbolter. I feel like you probably just want a Heavy Flamer on there, because anytime you get to shoot back, it's nice to have the Flamers. I mean, the Death Company Dreadnoughts are pretty good at killing infantry with Heavy Flamers, so I would take the Heavy Flamer on the Death Company Dreadnought. Most people actually recommend you do double Heavy Flamer on the Death Company Dreadnought. I'm okay with like a Heavy Flamer and a Meltagun. I just don't think the Stormbolter's all that great. We get the Death Company with jump packs. We get 10 of them. We get Infernal Pistols, Power Fists. It's so everybody's running it. Hello, Jim. How you doing? We've got Eradicators. It's a 6-man, and we've got 2 multi-meltas, 3 melta rifles, 4 melta rifles. Okay, yeah. I mean, kind of standard Eradicator 6-man squad. I guess the Apothecary's attached to the Eradicators in this list because he doesn't have Aggressors. So he's going to have the Apothecary try and give the Eradicators lethal hits. He's not giving them Bolter Discipline, so we're just getting lethal hits with the Eradicators. I guess that's fine. You can re-roll to hit, I guess, with Eradicators as well. You got the Redeemer. Probably going to see the Eradicators inside the Redeemer, to be completely honest with you. Try and get the Eradicators in nice and close, so they get that extra Melta 2 bonus. We get 2 squads of Outriders. We get 2 Redemptor Dreadnoughts. We got Plasmas on both Redemptors, Onslaughts. I think that's the right way to run them. And then we got a Vindicator tank. Interesting. So this is a Vanguard list. I've never actually played Vanguard myself. So the Centurions are always in reserve to pop a vehicle turn 2. I mean, I guess that works when you're fighting against vehicle lists. I just think las cannons are more round. The 2 Redemptors are far more tanky than I imagined them in my 4 games, and I haven't lost both yet. I mean, I guess Redemptor Dreadnoughts are pretty tanky anyway. Toughness 10, 12 wounds, 2 up save, -1 damage. So I guess when you factor in always in cover, over 12 inches away, and always -1 to hit. Yeah, the Redemptor Dreadnoughts are probably pretty darn great. That might be one of the reasons that they've been nerfed, actually, in terms of their points went up, because they were so good in Vanguard. You could play Armor of Contempt every time they're shot as well, so you basically can ignore 2 points of AP on a 2-up save, toughness 10. Yes, that is very strong. The bikes are tanky as well to hold the backline, do actions and move block. I guess everything becomes more tanky when you give it permanent cover and -1 to hit. I remember when Eldar, was it Eldar? No, I think it was Harlequins had -1 to hit from like the mirror generators or whatever it is, the shield, the mirror shields or whatever nonsense it was. And if your army already isn't a super powerful shooting army, then all of a sudden you feel really poor when your whole army is -1 to hit. The only thing I think I will remove is the Death Company with Dreadnought, because he's easy to screen block away from vehicles and they end up doing nothing in my games. I mean, I think it's okay to have one Death Company Dreadnought, but yeah, I suppose if you feel like he's doing nothing in the games, let's swap him out for something else. So that's 165 points we've got to play for. Everything else is good, I think. Land Raider Redeemer is good. Double Redemptor is good. Vindicator Tank is good. I'm not a huge fan of Eradicators, but Eradicators can get some buffs from the Vanguard detachment as well, in that they can get +1 to hit, and they can get an additional point of AP. So, oh, actually, can you use that on infantry, the Vanguard one? Yeah, I think you can use it. Maybe it is infantry-only stratagem. Let me just check. Vanguard. It's called From the Shadows. Until the end of the phase, each model and unit makes an attack. Yeah, it's an infantry. You get to improve their ballistic skill by 1 and AP by 1. So your Centurions can get 1 more AP and 1 more ballistic skill, which makes their las cannons crazy good, actually. So I think it's mad to not run las cannons in the Vanguard attachment. And Eradicators get better. They're not as crazy good because obviously they've got lower strength, but they do get better, and their AP becomes obnoxious at -5, I guess, if you play that on them. And they got lethal hits as well. Is the Vindicator a good unit? Yes, Cody. I run it literally... Do you know what? It's not in my current list, but out of the 30 or so games I've played in 10th edition, it was in my list for like 28 of them. I ran 2 of them for the longest time. I think if you're running the Gladius detachment, I think Vindicators are amazing. I think they're okay in the Blood Angels detachment. Just the Gladiator detachment just really makes them top tier. Because their biggest weakness is their range. The Gladiator detachment lets them advance and shoot basically any turn you need that to happen. So it really helps them get around and do damage. I like this Vanguard list in a sense, I think. The only thing I don't like a running Death Company with Vanguard is there's no way to get Lance in the Vanguard attachment. So the Death Company are a bit weaker in the Vanguard attachment because there's no way to give them Lance. What do you think of a unit of aggressors in Vanguard with Blade Driven Deep in the 1 AP and BS? I mean, Blade Driven Deep is a weird one, Lamarta is right, because like you're gambling on you going first to a certain extent. Aggressors have had 2 nerfs now to their points. So I think aggressors are getting to a point where they're like pretty darn expensive points wise. And again, I think it comes down to aggressors are best in the Gladius attachment. So I think I'm not sure I love aggressors in the other detachment, but maybe it's not so bad, I guess, if you're running that stratagem that we just talked about. Strike from the Shadows. Maybe it's okay to run the aggressors, but yeah, Blade Driven Deep, putting a shooting unit forward into no man's land, it can go both ways. It could be really powerful, but it can also be a bit of a sitting duck or whatever. So I'm not as hot on Blade Driven Deep as some other players are. Okay, so this list, is there anything I would change? You said you didn't like the Death Company Dreadnought. Scouts would be very useful in this list to score some points. It might be really useful to have a squad of infiltrators in this list as well, just to totally skew your backfield, and or secure a side objective or something like that. I think if the Death Company Dreadnought isn't doing anything, then Scouts and Infiltrators are 165 points. That'll be an easy swap out. A Ball Predator might be okay as well. Thunderstrike might be okay as well. Not that many people run Thunderstrikes, but you do have a bunch of firepower that would benefit from +1 to wound. Yeah, do you know what? Thunderstrike would actually be really good here because the Eradicators. The Thunderstrike gives a huge buff to the Eradicators. I think the one Thunderstrike's about 165, isn't it? 160. Yeah, okay, then I would run the Thunderstrike because +1 to wound with 6 Eradicators is a big buff for them. Because if you're wounding on 5s, bear in mind Eradicators get full rerolls to wound. If you're wounding on 5s with full rerolls, you have, I believe it's 55%. Let me just double check that. 1 times 0.66, sorry, 1 times 0.33, and then 0.66 times 0.33. Yeah, it's like 50. What would they be that? 54% wound rate on that squad of Eradicators, but if you've got +1 to wound, it moves to 75%. So if we've decided that Eradicators in this detachment can get +1 to hit, can get 1 more AP, and then they can also get +1 to wound, that would be huge on them. So the biggest weakness of the Stormspeeder, honestly, is it's not that survivable, because it's like toughness 9, 11 wounds. Well, this detachment gives it permanent cover. I guess normally it would never have cover, so it makes it easier to save on, and it makes it -1 to hit as well. -1 to hit is probably as strong as 1 more point of toughness or similar, right? Because -1 to hit is moving your chance of being hit down by like 16%, whereas 1 more toughness might not change anything. So I would try the Thunderstrike. I think it's the best Stormspeeder. I think that would be cool in this detachment. I'd swap out those las cannons. Everything else I think is pretty good. Personally, I've run the Eradicators with the Apothecary inside a transport and in reserve. I actually didn't like them that much because of the wounding on 5s typically. Because if you're wounding on 5s, you can fluff the roll, right? Like you can really fluff a roll. And I guess I fluffed a roll. It went really badly and I lost all my Eradicators and basically didn't even kill an Armiger. Whereas I think if you've got +1 to wound, you're probably guaranteed to kill something. I like the Hail Strike in this. Yeah, I mean, the Hail Strike isn't too bad either, right? The Vanguard detachment is probably the detachment that's going to benefit the most from the Stormspeeders. But we don't see many people run Stormspeeder. I do think if you've got the points, the Thunderstrike is the best option, just because it lets you deal with all those hard to deal with threats. Okay, next list. Next list is from S. Marshmallow. I'm just going to call you Marshmallow. What's up, Reziel? Good evening. So there's a 2,000 point Firestorm list that we've got second. We've got a Captain with Forged in Battle, and we've got a Lieutenant with Champion of Humanity. I'm going to have to read these ones real quick because it's been a little while since I looked at Firestorm. So, Firestorm Assault. Forged in Battle is the one where you can modify a hit roll to a 6 and a saving throw to a 6 as well. You do that once per turn, so basically twice every battle round. And Champion of Humanity is, while this model is leading a unit, units can ignore any or all modifiers to their characteristics, excluding changes to their armor save. I think Champion of Humanity must be some niche pick, or he's just got 10 points left, because I don't really see what's all that strong with it. I suppose it might be good against Death Guard or something if they're -1 toughness and you can just be like, no, I'm not. We've got a Lieutenant with a combi weapon, obviously, to get those rerolls. and also to do some lone operative stuff and stuff like that. Greg, hello. How are you? So we've got 6 Blade Guard, we've got the Company Heroes. The Company Heroes need to be attached to the Captain, so I think that's probably what's what. We've got the Death Company Dreadnought. We just talked about it. Double Flamer or Flamer Melta seem like the best option. We've got a squad of Hellblasters. We don't see these guys very often, especially in a 10. We've got 2 double Redemptors. She hasn't mentioned what guns are on the Redemptors. That's annoying, but I would assume that you'd want the Plasma, and if you were in Firestorm detachment, probably Heavy Flamer. You've got a Repulsor, which is fine for 190. It's a decent transport. I guess that's where all 10 of your Hellblasters go in. You've got 2 squads of Scouts. You've got a Stormreaving Gunship. Okay, now I don't know where anything's going. Yeah, so let's read his comments in a second. And then you've got the Khalid Assassin. The one unit he decided to put the weapon options for. Everything else he just kept hidden. Interesting. Hello, Brew. So Repulsor is the Lieutenant with the Ignore Modifiers enhancement, and it leads the Hellblasters to shoot anything down. Okay. The Combi Lieutenant holds the backfield with a Redemptor. It can support if Deep Strike occurs, since everything can advance and shoot. The strategy is a lot of big tough targets to hopefully saturate anti-tank enough to drop the Stormraven Riders in the middle and keep the Hellblasters safe in the Repulsors for as long as possible. Should be a major Catan killer. Yeah, I mean, I guess Hellblasters are probably good against Catan. I don't actually have to play against Catan too much myself. So what's in the Stormraven? The Blade Guard, maybe? The Company Heroes? It doesn't actually say. So I guess this is the thing. If you're going to submit an army list, please try and put the weapon options on it, but also try and, for sure, either tell me what characters are attached to what, or what goes in each transport typically. I know sometimes you line up in the battlefield and you go, actually, this could be a terrible game for my Hellblasters to be inside the Repulsor, so I'm not going to do it. But, I mean, for the most part, you do have, when you bring a transport to an army list, you usually have an idea of what's going inside it, right? The Redemptors just run out and start shooting and hopefully distract enough for the Raven Repulsor. Well, the Repulsor's pretty distracting, man. Having played a Repulsor a lot, it's toughness 12. It can kind of just ride up to the middle of the board. It'll draw a lot of fire, and it'll usually take the opponents most of a turn to kill it. You're probably going to I actually can't remember if you can smoke screen a Repulsor. Surely you can. I was going to say you either smoke screen it or Armor of Contempt it. Repulsor's got to have smoke launchers, I'm sure of it. Yeah, okay. So you either smoke it or Armor of Contempt it. Smoke is better if you're not getting cover. Armor of Contempt is, I suppose, better if you're getting cover. You try and survive out that turn 1, basically. And then you pop out your Hellblasters and try and shoot something down. I assume, I guess, the Blade Guard are inside the Stormraven Gunship, maybe the Company Heroes. I don't really rate Stormraven Gunships, honestly. I think they're kind of like, for lack of a better word, dog shit. Because they don't have enough weapons. You get 2 Strength 10 Storm Strike missiles. You get a twin assault cannon that can be replaced with a twin plasma cannon or a twin las cannon. I think you probably replace it with a twin heavy plasma or the twin heavy las, because the assault cannon is kind of garbage. So you either have a one-shot las cannon or you have like a D3 shot plasma. Then you have your Typhoon missile launcher, which you can keep, I guess, which gives you 2 crack missiles, or you can replace it with like 1 twin multi-melta. Then you have a couple of Hurricane Bolters on it, but you're paying 240 points for that. Yes, it's toughness 10 with a 3-up save, and it is -1 to incoming damage, but like, it's 0 C. I don't think it's neat. Considering it's the same point as a Land Raider, I see no point in taking this over a Land Raider, right? Because it's 0 C where the Land Raider's 5. Land Raider has more wounds, more toughness, more save. Yes, it's a little bit faster, but I feel like a regular Land Raider has much better weapon options than this, right? Like a regular Land Raider with a multi-melta, a Hunter Killer missile, 4 las cannons, a double heavy bolter, and maybe there's something else on a Land Raider. Is it Stormbolter I've missed? if you compare these two things side by side, it's like, why on earth are you running the Stormraven? Beyond if you bought a Stormraven or you think it's cool, that's like the only reason to run it. Because in this list, you could literally start the Land Raider on the board. That gives you 2 giant targets for the enemy to shoot at. Like I said, you smoke whichever one they go after. The Land Raider will have a whole turn of firing. That's 4 las cannon shots. That's possibly a multi-melta. It's possibly some heavy bolters. There's possibly a hunter-killer missile. And then it's going to sit on an objective at OC5, and it's going to be way more durable as well. So it's like, I think there's no reason to run a Stormraven unless you don't have the Land Raider model. And then you're talking about killing Catan. Then I think 4 las cannons are much better than 1 las cannon, a couple of plasma shots, and a couple of damage 3 missiles. Like, 4 las cannons has got to be better than that. And it's just more survivable. Stuff can charge out of it. The Stormraven's in such a bad place right now. The like button seems broken. Can we get more likes on the stream, says Jason. We've got 13 likes, we've got 43 people watching. Good point, Jason. Thanks for calling out. Scott, hello, Commander. You're awake in Australia for a change. Yeah, I know the time zones with Australia. It's like 12 hours different. I've got a friend that actually moved to Australia. We used to play video games together before he moved, and it's like we never get to play anything now because the time zones are so different. Good evening, Uvengi. How you doing? There's always some competitive representation with Stormravens that did decently well this year. I wouldn't dismiss them outright, but I also think they're not easy to maximise. Yeah, I mean, unless there's a magic play that I'm not seeing with a Stormraven Reziel, I just think the Land Raider is much, much better. I have a Land Raider on my list, and I have a Stormraven, and I honestly have no... As cool as the Stormraven is, I have no motivation to put it into a list. I just don't see what it would be good at. Unless he's putting like a Redemptor Dreadnought inside it. I mean, maybe, but then you can't charge out of it, so it kind of defeats the whole purpose of it, right? Dark Angels won a major running 2 Stormravens, but a Dark Shroud buff to them, which is now Legends. I mean... Yeah, maybe I am writing it off, but yeah, I just don't see it. I just don't see it as a strong unit. When we did the tier list, we did not rate this high at all, whereas the Land Raiders are both rated in like the A tier, right? Okay, so that's a Firestorm list. It's interesting to be a Firestorm list because I actually don't see that much stuff that's going to benefit heavily from the Firestorm stuff. I was going to say Firestorm's like +1 strength within 12 inches and everything has assault, right? Everything has assault within 12 inches, add 1 strength. I'm not seeing anything that like screams at me like this is amazing for Firestorm. Anyone running Firestorm in chat? What do you think? Didn't GW rule that transports coming in from reserve can disembark their load, which makes rapid ingress Stormraven with a Dread pretty cool for an easy charge? Does anyone... I mean, I've never seen that, but yeah, I mean, I guess if you're confident you can bring the Stormraven in and weather a turn of shooting, then I guess that's cool. My experience of Stormravens, though, is they die pretty quickly. They're only T10, they're only 3-up save. You know, like, if you talk about, like, a Gladiator Lancer, it doesn't really take much firepower to drop a Lancer, does it? Okay, this is an interesting list. I'm not sure I'm catching on exactly, but like I said, I've not been playing Firestorm, so I don't know how objective I can be with this one. Let's talk about Garstar's Vanguard list. Okay, so we know what Vanguard is. -1 to hit, +1, or -1 to hit and cover when you're over 12 inches away. We've got a chaplain with a jump pack. We've got a lieutenant with a combi weapon. We've got 6 Centurion Devastators and then 3 Centurion Devastators. Jesus, okay. I don't really see any point in running the Centurion Devastators in squads of 6, because when they get stuck in combat, they can never fall back and shoot in the Vanguard detachment, if I'm correct. The only detachment they can fall back and shoot in is Gladius. So you should just run these guys as 3s, right? Because if they ever get put into combat, then you're going to lose 6 of them shooting. Even if, like, if you get tagged by a single enemy model, you want all 6 of the Centurions to not shoot for a round. And also, they can't join characters, so they can't really get buffs from each other, so just run them as 3 squads of 3. You can also move them around independently. There's no reason to have a squad of 6 Centurions, as far as I'm aware. You do have the right loadout on all of them, missile launchers and las cannons. We got 5 Death Company with jump packs, so they'll attach to the chaplain. That's a really good squad because of the +1 to wound. However, having played at a GT with only 5 Death Company and a Chaplain as my only real melee threat, I just sat at that GT thinking, if I had 5 more Death Company and a Chaplain, another Chaplain, that would be even better. So, like, I think for 205 points, that's a great squad. And I would probably run 2 of them. They do have a fallback, do they, in Vanguard? Calculated feint, someone's telling me. Calculated feint. 1 Adept as a starter unit from your army that was selected as a target of the charge, you can move away. Well, sure. But then, that's similar to squad tactics. The amount of times I've used squad tactics and I've rolled a 1. So you're going to have to hope that you roll a 6 or something so your Centurions can move away. Sometimes that, like, having used that in a bunch of situations, I use the squad tactics one, which is the Vanguard one, sorry, the Gladius one that says, like, when the enemy finishes a move with a 9, you can move d6. It fails as much, it works as well as much as it fails, right? It's like a 50-50. You've got the squad of Inceptors, and it's a 6-man. You've got the Infiltrators. Based on what I just said about the Devastators, is there any reason to have the Inceptors in a single squad? Does anyone run 6 Plasma Inceptors as a single squad, or does anyone run them as 2 3s? I feel like they're also much less susceptible to battle shock when you run them in 3s. Because you're going to lose 2 models to battle shock, so you're literally only taking the battle shock when you've got 1 guy left. You've got Librarian Dreadnought, so you can teleport some stuff around. I guess you're wanting to teleport that 6-man unit of Centurions. Or your 6-man Inceptor blob. I guess that's the only reason to have them in 6s. Redemptor Dreadnought ×2, Scout Squad ×2, Calidus Assassin. Okay, I mean, most of that's pretty standard then, and we saw very similar stuff in the Vanguard detachment earlier. Calculated Feint is one of the best strats in all of Marines. You can really screw up your opponent by having 2 units interspace, so they have to charge both. Use the strat, move 1 back. Yes, it's good, I suppose. But you do, like, the amount of times I've run squad tactics Rezio and just rolled a 1 and get 1 inch and it's not turned out to be enough. So I guess, yeah, it's tough. Garstar says, I've never submitted a list before, but I'll be going to the Manchester GT in a few weeks, and I'd probably like to bring a variation on this Vanguard list. I recently took 3rd place in a local RTT using something similar. I'll be interested to hear your thoughts. Okay. Essentially, the idea is the Redeemers try to contest the midboard, backed up with the Death Company with the Librarian chuck Centurions around the board to get decent firing angles. In my previous games, the Centurions have been amazing. I mean, the Centurions, we talked about them. They are arguably the most reliable shooting for the points that Space Marines have, right? In terms of, like, if you're shooting stuff on an objective, your las cannons are full hits and wound rerolls. And if you're shooting not on an objective, it's 3s to hit, rerolling 1s. So the Devastator Centurions, that's why they put them up 5 points. Because the raw firepower and the built list on rerolls make them super reliable. Yes. So I guess having 6 Centurions as a single squad to teleport around is not horrific. They do have really good range as well. I think their missiles are 36, their las cannons are 48, so you can put them in obnoxious positions, you can put them quite far away. If you can ever get them on top of a building as well, you can take the plunging fire for the extra AP too, and in the Vanguard detachment, you can give them +1 to hit, and you can give them ballistic skill +1 and 1 more AP. I think the extra AP is big on their missiles, actually, because their missiles are AP2 normally, which means normally if you're hitting something cover, they're only AP1. So being able to get 1 more from the Vanguard detachment, make those missiles -3 is pretty good. And each Centurion gets D3 missiles. So statistically, and their blast as well, like, these are a very good anti-Terminator weapon, right? Or anti-elite enemy weapon. Because Terminator is a good example, because they would get built-in rerolls to hit, and then they'll wound on 3s, because they're strength 9. And -2 is almost the perfect number for killing Terminators, right? Because -2 put them straight onto their invulnerable save. And D3 damage, I mean, flat 3 would be better, but at least you can kill a Terminator with every missile. It can happen. The Infiltrators are there to play my backline. Librarian Dreadnought is the linchpin of the list. The only thing I'm really not sure about is the Combi Lieutenant. I thought about replacing him with another unit of Scouts or maybe a Tech Marine, I'm not sure. I feel like a Tech Marine might not be the most horrible choice here. The Combi Weapon Lieutenant is someone that I don't run myself. I know that he's good. You can put the wound rerolls onto a single objective. I guess that's good for certain units. I guess it doesn't really synergize with your Centurions. Maybe it's good with your Inceptors. Maybe it's good with your Redemptor Dreadnoughts. So there is value in that Combi Lieutenant. The issue I have, actually, with this list is probably Librarian Dreadnought. And the fact that you said the linchpin of the list is the Librarian Dreadnought. And I was at a tournament where the linchpin of my list was the Librarian Dreadnought, and I would have finished in top 3 if I'd rolled a 2 up, because you can't re-roll psychic powers, right? So, like, while the Librarian Dreadnought is amazing, he also comes with a giant weakness, is when you roll that 1 in a critical turn, there's nothing you can do to change it. So you are relying a little bit on Lady Luck, and having played that at a tournament and seen Lady Luck smile against me, I decided that, I mean, I don't really like basing my lists around luck, and there is a bit of luck in Librarian Dreadnought. He's super strong, right? Like, he is super strong. The enemy move off their home field objective, you just dump some Scouts on there. The enemy leave an objective on the side, sticky, you dump some heavy intercessors on there. Like, he can move around shooting units amazingly as well, and that's primarily why you take him. May also move around other stuff all the time to be obnoxious. You know, secondary scoring. You know, you need to bind enemy lines. Cool, I'll just move a unit into the backfield on a 2-up. 99.9% of the time, the teleport works fine. It's that one time that the teleport doesn't actually work that's the real nightmare. Do you know what? Saying that just reminds me that I actually think I maybe even made the slides for because I made slides for that game, like my final game in that tournament when I was playing on table 2. I made the slides, I think, but I actually think, yeah, do you know what? I actually think I never got around to filming this video, actually. So I lost this game by 4 points against Chaos Knights. Yeah, I need to actually film this video. This was ages ago now. But it literally came down to a failed teleport screwing me. And this was what the game looked like at the final turn. So I lost this game by 4 points. And if I'd won this game, I would have gone, what, 4-1? And look at the table at the end of the game. I hold this objective, I hold this objective, I hold this objective, I hold this objective, and this objective up here, I believe I had Death Company on it, but he had some stupid not Shalaxi. It was like a Demon Prince of Slanesh that when you kill her on a 2-up, she comes back to life. and she was back alive. So literally all he had on the board was like 3 Nurglings and this Demon Prince. And what have I got? I've got like a squad of scouts, I've got 2 Eradicators, I've got a Ballistus Dreadnought, I've got a Vindicator tank, I've got 3 aggressors, a captain, and the biologist, and I've got my Death Company chaplain. I lost the game because I needed a teleport. And I made a thumbnail about that one actually, because it was like on a 2-up I win this game, because I think on one of the earlier turns I was going to take these 2 Eradicators and I was just going to dump them on his home field, and they would have denied, because this was sticky earlier in the game or something, so I would have denied him like 5 points. I would have taken 5 points, I would have won the game. I think it would have been like turn 3, because my Librarian Dreadnought's still alive here. Yeah, so Eradicators moved this way, the Librarian Dreadnought moved that way. There's nothing basically on this backfield except the 1 squad of Inceptors. This Chaos Knight here actually killed all 3 of them. If one of them survived, I would have won the game as well. But I was just going to teleport the 2 Eradicators over here as well. So I'd like 5 Gravis on his home field, and that would have... And then when I teleported over there, the 2 Eradicators could have shot this Knight as well, which would have probably helped kill that Knight a bit earlier too. But I failed, and that literally cost me the game. So as much as it is cool to teleport the Librarian Dreadnought, use him, teleport Centurions around, you're going to roll a 1 in the most critical of moments. And I guess when you do that, you'll probably come back here and tell me, John, I'm not running the Librarian Dreadnought anymore. And that's literally what happened to me. So I like most of this list. Just personally, I think I'm not reliant on the Librarian Dreadnought. He has a giant weakness. He is super strong, I get it. And when you go through games and you roll 2-ups 5 times in a row and you make all 5 teleports around, it's brilliant. But unfortunately not always, I guess. And Librarian Dreadnought 2-up, but it brings something to the table very few armies have. Yeah, I mean, it's amazing, don't get me wrong. Like, I literally was points away from coming top 3 at that GT, and my whole Gladius list was lynched around the Librarian Dreadnought as well. I'm just telling you, it will fail you, and like, remember all the 80s cartoons, and they're like, you remember that bit with Optimus Prime? It was like, the light to guide our darkest hour, the matrix of leadership. When he actually needed the matrix of leadership to open up and give him all the power, it didn't, and then Megatron killed him. So, I mean, there you go. That's what the Librarian Dreadnought will do for you. It'll win you all the games till your final game, and then you'll get screwed. So, Chronosaying's list is next. And he is running... Cool, this is the first Sons of Sanguinius detachment for tonight. Sorry, did I miss something in the chat? Did anyone want to... When are we expecting the next point changes? Is it every 3 months or every 6 months? It's pretty much every 3 months, Crozier, but... the last round of point changes were super disappointing. Like, Blood Angels didn't get a single point change as far as I'm aware. So, and if anything... Yeah, it's super disappointing. They completely ignored Sangre Guard, even though nobody's playing them. I'm not really sure the logic behind that, unless they want to sell new Sangre Guard soon. Rizzo says, I think there's a very strong reason that tons of competitive Blood Angels don't include Librarian Dreadnought. Yeah, I mean, Librarian Dreadnought works better in shooting-based lists, and that Vanguard list we looked at was a shooting-based list. So he's much better for shooting armies, because he guarantees that Alpha Strike type ability. But he still has a giant weakness, and the weakness is you cannot re-roll psychic tests. We've got your list coming up next, Michael. Alright, so this is Chronosaying. He is a captain with a jump pack and Visage of Death. He is Lamartes, he is a Sanguinar. Kind of... arguably the 2 strongest Blood Angels characters that we have, and then Captain with Visage of Death. Got a squad of heavy intercessors. I love to see them. I think they're brilliant. I was painting mine yesterday. Mine are super close now. We've got a Ball Predator. We've got the Centurions. I love the Centurions with assault, bolters, flamers, the assault launcher as well, so you can do grenades if you want. You've got 10 Death Company with jump packs. You've got 5 more Death Company with jump packs. I prefer having the second Death Company squad to also have a chaplain, because I think the chaplains are super important to give them OC, but I guess I can get on board with having one chaplain between two squads. It's not the end of the world. We've got the Redeemer, so inside the Redeemer you're probably going to have those Centurions. We've got 5 Sanguinary Guard. I mean, I don't love them, but I can get on board with 5 of them, I suppose. If they're led by a captain, probably. They're OC2. They've got a lot more strength now on their swords. They've got a lot more strength. You should probably take the Power Fist as well, right? Because you get 1 free Power Fist. You should probably do that. You got the squad of scouts with a couple of shotguns for the advance and do actions. You got Vanguard veterans with shields. You got the Vindicator tank. You got Calidus Assassin. I actually don't love Vindicator tanks inside the Sons of Sanguinius detachment. It's not the worst thing in the world, but I feel like they really suffer from not being able to advance and shoot like in Gladius, or fall back and shoot like in Gladius. Auspex posted win rates today. Space Marines have 41% and Blood Angels have 45%. Well, we were 45 before the balance data slate, so nothing has really changed. The problem, though, is Crozier, is Games Workshop's win rates are not the win rates that everybody else seems to have access to, because there's a YouTube channel called Stat Check. If you've never checked them out, I believe it's just like Stat Check. I've actually played a couple of guys from Stat Check, and they have people that dive in. This is it. So if you've never seen Stat Check and you want like just raw stats, these guys do like stat checks across like lots of different armies. Lots of different events and stuff. And the win rates that they pull are not the same win rates that Games Workshop publish. So we could be sat there seeing that the actual win rate from events is 45%, but then Games Workshop will just tell us a completely different win rate. I don't know where they actually get their data from, but because they always talk about how they're getting it from all the events, but it doesn't seem to be that way. By the way, why are you not playing the Sanguinor? Any specific reason? Because he's 140 points, and I feel like my points are better spent elsewhere. I don't dislike the Sanguinor. I ran him once, maybe twice in my Blood Angels list, but I guess for me, I'm trying to think of what characters I run in my Blood Angels list. I'm running the Judiciar, I'm running Lamartes, and I'm running a generic chaplain. So my play is just different, right? Like, the Sanguinor is there for a fight first. Well, I have a Judiciar for a fight first. I'm going to deliver my Blade Guard right to the middle of the board anyway. So it's kind of the same play, just different, right? I really like Blade Guard. I've liked Blade Guard for a long time. I disliked running them in 6s for a while, but I'm back on. I enjoy running Blade Guard with 6s again. I keep seeing everyone playing this Helldivers game. Is it any good? Has anyone played it? Because it's like, people have been telling me, like, you need to come and play Helldivers. I'm like, it's basically Starship Troopers, right? So, Sons of Sanguinius list. Centurions and a Land Raider. Squad of Scouts, Vanguard Veterans, Vindicator, the Assassin, Sanguinary Guard, a Captain, 2 squads of Death Company, a Baal Predator. I'm not sure you need a Baal Predator along with the Redeemer, but maybe that's fine. It's a lot of flamers. Alright, so it's time for a new list submission for a general rundown. The Centurions starting the Redeemer. Heavy Intercessors hold the home objective. I like Heavy Intercessors on the home objective. They're really difficult to shift. Scouts and Calidus jump on and off the board for scoring. Yep, that's what I do. Baal Predator, Sanguinary Guard, and Van Vets are skirmishers / objective holders. 5-man Death Company rapid ingress into a jump on a threat. I like the 5-man Death Company rapid ingress. My issue with them is I think they're just a lot stronger with the chaplain, because then they have OC wherever they ingress, right? And so that's probably why I don't have the Sanguinor, because I want to make sure that these 5 Death Company can come down anywhere on the board with rapid ingress and still have OC. I don't want to be restricted to keeping them within 12 inches of Lamartes. And I sometimes play that 10-man Death Company pretty cagily. Like, if you saw my game against Eldar this week, I think my 10-man Death Company hid in a ruin for 2, maybe even 3 turns. And then when they came out in turn 4, they just ran over everything that was left on the board, because nothing he had left was strong enough to stand up to 10 Death Company. But, like, I brought down my 5-man Death Company on the opposite side of the board, right? So I guess that's why I don't have the Sanguinor, because I like Death Company to have OC, because I feel like Death Company usually kill whatever they charge, especially with +1 to wound, especially with lethal hits. So that's my thought on that. Lamartus plus 10 Death Company do what they always do. The Sanguinor is a constant threat throughout turn 1, 2, 3. Yes, and the Sanguinor will be a constant threat for charging. So I actually think this list is okay. I guess the Vindicator maybe I would reserve because I think it would be quite hard to play. I just think it's hard to always get the Vindicator into range in turn 1 with its 9-inch move and only its 24-inch gun, right? So it's only 33-inch threat range in turn 1. Considering you want to deploy it somewhere where it's pretty difficult for your opponent to kill it because you don't want to die before, so you probably need to deploy it in cover. So you probably lose like 4 or 5 inches moving out of cover, and then you've only got 29-inch threat range. I think that's actually quite hard to play in turn 1. And I think that's why Vindicators work so much better in the Gladius detachment. Sanguinary Guard, I believe, are overcosted. Everybody knows they're overcosted. So I guess you're running 5 because you want to. I think we all know that they're a bit overcosted for what you're actually getting there, and just 5-man with Death Company are better. The problem with running 3 squads of Death Company in this list would be you'd start struggling for OC because of only 1 chaplain, and I guess that's what sort of ties your hand behind your back if you're going to include the Sanguinor as well. Jim says Helldivers is amazing. What makes it amazing? Is it just quirky? Is it just fun? If you plan to play double Redeemer, I don't play double Redeemer. I play 1 Land Raider, 1 Redeemer at the moment, and I like it because it gives me a mix. The Redeemer is anti-infantry. The regular Land Raider is basically anti-tank. I really like having some long-range anti-tank in my list. Some people think you don't need it. I like having it. I hate seeing an army where they've got... Well, I played against Death Guard a few weeks ago, and maybe it's not a normal Death Guard list, but he had a Land Raider and he had 3 Predator Annihilators. That's a lot of las cannons at 48 inches that just were gunning me down for the entire game. It's funny you mentioned testing the Vindicator range. I think reserve the Vindicator, right? Because if you reserve the Vindicator, you bring it in, you shoot your Oath of Moment target, you fire your Hunter-Killer missile, and you hope it drops the target you want to kill, right? But for the most part, I think this is a fine Sons of Sanguinius list. There's not much I would change. I just think I can't see any reason to really take Sanguinary Guard over the fact that you're just paying. They're too many points. I don't know why there's so many points. You're hurting yourself a little bit by taking these guys. Games Workshop really need to balance them. I can't believe they didn't balance them in the last data slate. Like, they must really hate Blood Angels players taking Sanguinary Guard at the moment. I don't understand why. Okay, we're going into Michael Glass. His list next. He said he's new to Blood Angels. And he's running Sons of Sanguinius. Okay, so we've got Chaplain with the jump pack, we've got Lamartes, we've got the Sanguinary Priest with the jump pack with Artisan of War. I feel like Artisan of War is only worth taking if you didn't have points for anything else. All the enhancements or the Blood Angels are pretty average. And then we've got the Sanguinor. So you're pushing it here. There's a lot of points on characters. I'd never go... I was going to say, you better not have an assassin here or you've got too many points. You got 2 assassins. Okay, Michael, you got too many characters. You got too many points in characters. What you got here? 250 plus 185, so like 435 plus 170. So you get 605 in characters. You really need to trim that to like... Let me think what my list is. Mine's like 110 plus 270. Like mine's about 330 maybe, and that's 4 characters, cheaper characters albeit. But yeah, you really don't want to be going much more than like, if you're over 400 points in characters, I'm probably going to say you've got too many characters. You maybe get away with like 420 or 430 or something, but not you can't be running 600 points of characters. Characters do buff squads, and the buffs are useful, but there's definitely a diminishing return there. Of like, once you get over 400 points, you're gonna have, you know, if I face you and I've got 330 points of characters, then I probably have 2 more entire 10-man squads of units, or maybe not that. Maybe I've got 2 more tanks or something. And if you had to choose, a Sanguinary Priest or a tank, you know, like, because that's like this guy's literally 20 points cheaper than a tank. There's definitely a point there where it's like, oh, if I have 2 more tanks, I'll just win because I've got 2 more tanks, right? Or I've got, you know, like I've got 5 more Death Company, and 5 more Death Company will eat all your characters alive in one turn, right? So, Assault Intercessor with jump pack times 10. Some people absolutely love this squad. I'm kind of indifferent on it, but yes, I mean, 10 Assault Intercessors with jump packs, I assume attached by the Sanguinary Priest with jump pack. Let me see. Chaplain with 5 Death Company, Martyrs with 10, Sanguinary Priest with 10 Assault Intercessors. Yeah, I mean, I think this squad is fine. It is primarily only chainswords, so you're going to be really smart with what this squad attacks, because once they do their mortal wounds, and they will do probably 5 mortal wounds on the charge, you might be able to fall them back and charge again. But they are really only chainswords, and they are only strength 6. So you probably need to use Red Rampage on them when they charge to get +1 to wound and lethal hits. Don't forget that, because if you don't do it, they're probably not going to do enough damage. And then the other thing you need to really remember is, if they are getting charged or they're stuck in combat, then they default back to strength 4 chainswords. And strength 4 chainswords are pretty crap, honestly. So I ran 10 recently, and I thought it was fine. I wasn't excited about it. I felt like the Death Company are just much better. So just be really careful with what this squad and what they're actually going to attack into. The Priest does give them some more survivability, but not my favourite unit, honestly. So much so that I just don't run them anymore. But some Blood Angels players really like them. Some people really, really want to run them. They do mortal wounds every time they charge. But they are just strength 6 AP2 chainswords. Okay, Double Ball Predator. Double Ball Predator is good. Flamestorm Cannons are good. Heavy Flamers is good. Hunter Killer Missiles, everything about them is good. You get the 15 Death Company with jump packs. You've got them attached to the right characters. That's all good. Much prefer these guys to Assault Intercessor with jump packs. I know that you are only 40 points more for 5 more guys. I guess it... Yeah, I mean, I guess Assault Intercessor with jump packs are maybe slightly better at, like, holding objectives, doing more stuff with OC. They do have slightly better save than the Death Company. I just think that jump pack units jump in, kill something, and then generally die pretty quickly, right? Like, Toughness 4 Marines die pretty quickly, whether or not they've got 4 or whether or not they've got a 5-up or a 6-up save. Even Toughness 4 Marines with Lamartes at -1 damage still die pretty quickly, even with the -1 damage on them. Like, you can lose the whole squad in like 1.5 turns, something like that. So, I prefer having the Power Fists jump in, hit them with Strength 10, do a bunch of damage, and if I die, I die. So, just be aware of that. Eradicators, 3 Eradicators on their own. Melta Rifle, Multi-Melta seems okay. I'm not really sure where they're synergizing. Like, Eradicators work best if you can get them within 9 inches, because they get the Melta 2. If they're on foot, which it looks like they are in this list, it's going to be difficult to get them within 9 inches. So I guess 3 Eradicators are fine. I ran Eradicators at my last tournament list, but I did have them inside transports, and transports get them within 9 inches, so they can do more damage. Rezio says Assault Marines are a good unit, but they're not truly offensive one. I'll be trying to get Death Company or Van Vets. Yeah, I mean, they do mortals, but yeah, like I said, Strength 6 chainswords are fine. They're maybe, you know, if you're running into opponent Marines, then Strength 6 chainswords are good enough. I guess if you're trying into Eldar, Strength 6 chainswords are good enough. But there is situations where Strength 6 chainswords kind of bounce off the enemy, even with +1 to wound. Infiltrators for holding the backfield is good. Predator Annihilators, I think I'm probably actually quite okay with Predator Annihilators. I think they're a cheap way to get 3 las cannons and a Hunter Killer Missile on a decent platform. I think I prefer the Destructor, but I might be the only person that actually prefers the Predator Destructor. I think the Annihilator is decent. I think it's like a poor man's Ballistus Dreadnought. I think Ballistus Dreadnoughts are really good. So I think it's fine to run a couple of Annihilators. Like I said, I like having some long-range las cannons, 48 inches, punch out some enemy targets from range. If they're ignored, they can kill Terminators, they can kill elite units. If they're ignored, they will do damage over the entire game. They got, like I said, 3 las cannon shots every turn, one of which is twin-linked. You got 2 squads of scouts. You got the Calidus Assassin, you got the Vindicator Assassin. Okay, so this is a good start, I guess, if you're a New Blood Angels list. This is our New Blood Angels player, Michael. This is a good start. My thought would be lose the Vindicator Assassin because he's not bringing enough to the table. Snipers are super swingy as well, right? Like 1 game he'll kill an opponent's character, and then like 4 games he'll do nothing. He won't kill anything. So I'd lose him straight away. I think you've got infiltrators for the backfield. You've got a couple of squads of scouts. You've got predators that can potentially screen on the wing. The Eradicators are a strange one for me because I don't actually know how you get them within 9 inches to do the damage you need to do. So you could honestly possibly lose those as well. And then I feel like you probably want to lose 1 more character. And that's where it gets tough, right? The Chaplain with the Jump Pack is very good with the Death Company. Lamarta's is very good with the Death Company. The Sanguinary Priest is making these Assault Intercessors much better. The Sanguinor is obviously a really good threat. And the Calidus Assassin is obviously really tricksy as well. But I think you've got to lose one of them because I don't think, even if we already lose the Vindicator, I don't think you can have 90 plus 230, 340... 450. I don't think you can have 525 points in characters. So you gotta lose someone else. If this was me, I think it would either be the Priest or the Sanguinor. The Sanguinor is easy to cut, right? Because, like, yes, he's good, but he is easy to cut because he doesn't rely on another unit. I guess if you're cutting the Priest, then I guess there could be a question mark around your Assault Intercessors. Some people, though, run Assault Intercessors in 2 5-man squads, right? Like 85 points, so they can jump around independently, secure objectives, do some mortal wounds. While the Priest is giving them some more survivability, and I guess some more killing power, AP -2, it's not huge. So you could split this Assault Intercessors into 2 for 85 points, lose the Priest for 110, lose the Vindicator for 80, possibly lose the Eradicators for 95, so you've got like 95 plus 80 is 175 plus the Priest, 285? I mean, 285 gets you, for example, a Land Raider, a Redeemer. Inside your Redeemer, you can easily fit. Well, you could fit 5 Death Company plus a Chaplain. So that Death Company are super secure. You push the Redeemer forward turn 1. You've got Death Company that can come out right in the middle of the board and kill something. You'd also put Assault Intercessor with jump packs inside the Redeemer. That way you get to keep the Sanguinor. There's a few ways you can go in this, and for a first Blood Angels list, you're like, I would say you're like 70% of the way there. You've got nothing that's in this list that looks bad, maybe except the Vindicator Assassin. And I was going to say you could somehow make those Eradicators work, I suppose. Like if you really wanted to keep the Eradicators in there, maybe you just drop 5 of the Assault Intercessors. So inside the Land Raider Redeemer that you purchase, you put 5 jump pack Intercessors and your 3 Eradicators. I think that would fit, would it? No, it would be no, because Redeemer's only got 14. Damn it. No, because Eradicators take up 2 spots. Antonia says, I have some Eradicators and Redeemer with 6 Blade Guard. Yeah, I like the 6 Blade Guard. I'm kind of in camp. I think 6 Blade Guard plus a Judiciar for what, like 250 points? I think it's kind of amazing. Hey, folk, thanks so much for the gifted sub. Much appreciated, dude. Welcome to the channel, Michael. You should come into our Discord. If you don't have access to our Discord,
I have awoken.
You can join our members only room now. You got AFOC to thank for the gifted membership. So come join our Discord. Come join our members only room. That'd be cool. But yeah, I think you're 80% there. You've got a few options. And I think on the chopping block would either be the Priest and the Sanguinor, maybe some Jump Intercessors, maybe the Eradicators, definitely the Vindicator Assassin. This is pretty close to a very decent Sons of Sanguinius list. Let us know when you've played a couple of games with it. Every list I have has the 6 Blade Guard and the Judiciar, says Zacharias. Yeah, I mean, I think the 6 Blade Guard and the Judiciar inside the Redeemer or another Land Raider, it doesn't have to be a Redeemer, it could be a regular Land Raider. I think that's really good right now. And I think it's really difficult for opponents to charge that. And I mean, if you really want to break it down, you know, like, what's the maximum damage the Sanguinor can do when he comes in from reserve? And then what's the maximum damage that 6 Blade Guard plus a Judiciar can do on the fight first? Because those two things are going to be... Yes, the Blade Guard and the Judiciar are 110 more points, but I feel like the damage is going to be a long way apart, right? Because Blade Guard get 4 attacks when you're charged, and the Judiciar gets 5, each of which can do 2 damage. So 6 Blade Guard, 6 times 4 is 24 times 2, 48. So they can do 58 damage. I mean, they're never going to do 58 damage, but they can do 58 damage. Whereas when the when the Sanguinor comes in, he can do 16 damage. So 16 damage at 140 points. Yes, that's anywhere on the board. I mean, typically, if you put the Blade Guard on the center objective in cover with the Judiciar, they can't ignore it. They're going to have to charge them at some point. So when they charge them, you do 58 damage potential. And obviously, the cool thing about the Blade Guard as well is they can buff the Judiciar's attacks. So he hits on 2s and wounds on 2s. And his sword is actually higher strength than the Sanguinor, because his sword is actually strength 7. Does the Sanguinor get Red Thirst when he uses Miraculous Savior? No, he does not, because unfortunately they do not count it as a heroic intervention, because he's just quote-unquote set up on the board. So yeah, I get the Sanguinor super strong. I had him in my list, but I think I don't know. I like Blade Guard. I think they're one of the cool... I mean, like, I was going to say, they're one of the coolest Primaris units. They're literally the only Primaris unit that's got a sword for the whole squad, right? They're like the only real melee Primaris models, I guess. I mean, I guess Aggressors are a melee model, but they're slow and clunky. Okay, so we got last list for tonight, and this list is set by Max Casper UK, and this is... I guess he's a new channel member, so welcome to the channel, Max. Thank you so much for being a member. It's Sons of Sanguinius, and it's 2,000 point. He's got a Terminator Captain and Lamartis. Interesting. Heavy Intercessors as his battle line unit. 2 times Assault Intercessors with the jump packs. 10 Death Company with Power Fists. He's got Eliminators. I'm kind of off the Eliminators. He's got the bolt rifles on them, and the Sergeant with a bolt carbine. I feel like one squad, we've talked about this a lot, one squad of Eliminators. Sons of Sanguinius Blade Guard are ridiculously better than Inner Circle Companions, at least. I've been finding the Blade Guard really, really good recently. Especially the ability to charge out the Redeemer, right? So your Blade Guard have like a 15-inch movement from the transport, and then the charge. I've really been liking Blade Guard. Especially for the points, right? If you compare them to Terminators, for the points, they're just cheaper and you get more models. Yes, you get less toughness, but they do have those built-in save. They do have that built-in thing that helps them save. Shield of the Emperor, I think it's called. Infiltrators for 100, Librarian Dreadnought for 170, a 10-man Terminator squad with lots of chain fists and power fists, a Vindicator tank, a double Whirlwind. Oh, man, I'm not really a fan of this list, Max. I'll tell you why. I'm sorry that I'm just going to tell you. 10 Terminators are difficult to play. They are slow. I guess you can rapid ingress them. But regardless, they are slow. I guess they are slightly durable. But they are so many points. 465 points for 10 Terminators plus a captain. The Captain Terminator armor, I actually don't know what buff he gives them. Does he give them a free stratagem and a reroll charge or something? Captain Terminator armor. Yeah, the two Whirlwinds got hit so hard, 180 points. I do not like Whirlwinds at all. I didn't like them before when they were like 150 points. I think Whirlwinds are dead to me now. They're just too expensive for what they dish out. It's like, I would call it incidental indirect fire at best. And I just, considering how close they are in points to Vindicator, I just think they're way overcosted. Games Workshop have a habit of nerfing indirect fire stuff so expensive. So you get a reroll charge. Okay, so the Terminators are slow, but they do reroll their charge. But I still don't like them. I mean, I've got a lot of these Terminators. You're going to use the free rapid ingress and then hopefully do a bunch of damage. Yeah, I mean, I get it. The Terminators will kill one unit, but I just don't think they do really that any better than a Death Company. And the Death Company can be cheaper and they can move faster, and I'm not a huge fan of the Terminators. You got Librarian Dreadnought in here, which makes me think that you want to teleport units around. I don't see a whole lot of units that you can actually teleport effectively with this Librarian Dreadnought. I mean, Eliminators to score points. I don't know if I feel like you need Infiltrators and Heavy Intercessors. I guess Infiltrators could be in the backfield. Heavy Intercessors you're going to teleport. I just think that if you're gonna take the Librarian Dreadnought, you need to lean into teleporting units. And I guess you could teleport that 10-man Terminators. I think probably what you have to start by doing is cutting both Whirlwinds. Replace them with 2 more squads of guys. Or replace them with better anti-veer. Like, you could take a Ballistus Dreadnought for 140 and then use the 220 points you've got left over for, 10 Vanguard Veterans or something. Like, there's definitely an improvement you could make there. We don't see anyone run 10. We literally see nobody run 10 Terminators with a Terminator Captain. There's got to be a reason for that, right? It's because they're just not competitive. Yes, maybe they kill one unit, but then they're slow moving 5 inches. I mean, so I run Centurions, which are slow moving 4 inches. But the thing with the Centurions is they're in a Land Raider, so you get them where they need to be. They kill one thing and then they die. And I feel like the Terminators are probably going to maybe kill one thing and then die. Foz says that people are going to try and screen out that big block of Terminators. Yes, and even with Rapid Ingress, having played 10 Terminators, I've actually played 10 Terminators with a Terminator Captain in 10th edition. And what I found was it's very difficult to find any piece of terrain that you can drop 10 Terminators in that they're not going to be able to be shot, right? Because you're rapid ingressing them. So if you imagine what the size of the base is, right? Like 10 or 11 Terminators, because you get the Captain to include as well, you're very, very unlikely going to be able to place all of them outside of line of sight of the enemy, close enough to basically move 5 inches and then charge. I think it's so difficult to do that. Lucas says, what about 6 Blade Guard and Impulsor? Do you think it's worth taking it without the Judiciar? I think running them in an Impulsor is a different tactic, right? But I think Blade Guard are a durable unit that are worth running. Yes, they don't need a Judiciar, but I think the Judiciar helps them a lot. But I mean, if you're not running a Land Raider and you want to get them across the board, like, I think they need a transport. So I think a transport is more important than the Judiciar. If you've got a Land Raider that you can also put the Judiciar in, then great. But if you're running an Impulsor with Blade Guard, I think that's okay as well. I've done that in a tournament before. Had 6 Blade Guard and an Impulsor, just sent the Impulsor to the centre of the board. Remember, Impulsors can get a 5-up invuln. So just send the Impulsor to the middle of the board. Maybe you don't even need to disembark everybody in turn 1. Just weather some fire or something like that, right? I'm not a huge fan of this list. The Whirlwinds are too expensive, honestly. I think you've got to drop both of them. The Librarian Dreadnought maybe get some play if you add a couple of units when you lose the Whirlwinds. Bear in mind, Librarian Dreadnought benefits shooting units more than he does really benefit jump pack units, because you still got to make that 9-inch charge. I think one squad of Eliminators, I don't like it. I would swap them out for Scouts, honestly. I think Scouts do the same thing, but better and easier. I don't think the Eliminators really kill anything, so I think Scouts are just better. That's probably why no one runs Eliminators anymore. Everybody just runs Scouts. The Assault Intercessors with jump packs are fine. The Heavy Intercessors are good. Lamartes is good enough. So I think the Whirlwinds, the Eliminators, really don't like them in this list. Librarian Dreadnought's a really big question mark for me as well. It really depends on what you replace them with. What's the weapons for Scouts? You can... do you know what? I actually agree with Reziel on what to put on Scouts, because Scouts can take... The Sergeant can take a chainsword, so I think you should take the chainsword. So the Sergeant will have a bolt pistol and chainsword. I think you then want 2 Scouts with shotguns, but there could be an argument there for giving them combat knives, because I guess in combat they get quite a lot of attacks, actually. 4 attacks at strength 6. So they actually... You could have a lot of damage. You could get a lot of 0 AP attacks out of your Scouts for what you actually spend with them. But I think it's important to have the shotgun on at least one model, because that lets you advance and do an action, right? Because you've got an assault weapon. You can take a sniper rifle. I've run my Scouts with sniper rifles so many times it never does anything. It's one shot, and because it's one shot, it literally never does anything. So the Scout sniper rifle I'd probably just replace with a combat knife. And then you can take a missile launcher, but the missile launcher is -1 to hit. So basically you only hit on 4s. Very rarely do Scouts stand still. So again, the missile launcher rarely does anything. So I think it was Reziel that said he just put combat knives on all the Scouts. And I was like, yeah, I could probably just get on board with everybody's got a combat knife except one guy with a shotgun, so that we can advance and do an action, and advancing and doing an action is really cool. Yes, take the sniper rifle if you want. Yes, take the missile launcher if you want. Chances are they'll do no damage, and you'd be better off just charging with a bunch of combat knives. John and I have agreed more and lately. Yeah, do you know what? I think we only disagree on... Actually, I don't even know what we disagree. We used to disagree on everybody just running shitloads of infantry, toughness 4 infantry. But I never loved those lists of, like... I think at one point in 9th edition, people want to run 3 squads of Sangre Guard, 3 squads of Death Company, 2 squads of Assault Marines. I never ran that, man. And I probably never ran it because everybody was running it. And I like to run crazy stuff. If I could, I'd probably still run my super heavy tank. I love that thing. What's not to love? I don't even know if you can see the stats of it on Wikipedia anymore, but the stats of the volcano cannon on the falchion, if I could run the falchion legally in 10th edition, as like if they hadn't legended it, I would run it all the time, because this volcano cannon is hilarious. It's got one of the most powerful weapons in the game. I'm kind of sad that I can't run it, honestly. I think it's Horus. I think it's like in the Horus Heresy FAQ down here somewhere. Yeah, this one. Because the point cost on the falchion is really quite competitive, right? Where would the points cost be? They'd be in the legendary units. Would it be here? Legendary fuel manual. Let me tell you the points cost in the falchion. Where is it? 515 points, right? 515, which is not a lot of points. It's basically 2 Land Raiders, give or take. And what do you get? You get... Is this it, yeah? This model is equipped with 2 quad las cannons. So we start off with 8 las cannons. Cool. You can replace the quad las cannons with 2 laser destroyers. So you could have 6 shots at strength 14 minus 4. But I mean, probably 8 shots at strength 12 minus 3, d6 plus 1 is fine. So we start with 8 las cannons. We have a twin heavy bolter. Yeah, we know what that is. Land Raiders have that. Fine. We have the twin volcano cannon, which is d3 plus 1 blast, twin linked, strength 24, AP minus 5, damage 12. Each time this model makes a ranged attack with a Falchion's volcano cannon that targets a monster or vehicle, that attack has devastating wounds. 12 damage, dev wounds. Yeah, 515 points. I'd run this fucking every game. I'd just babysit it with a Tet Marine, honestly. And that would be my... this would just be I just park this thing. It's got 120 inches on it as well. So I just park it on the edge of my board, so hopefully you can't even shoot at it. Because I'm 60 inches away. I'm just going to shoot you every time with my blast 12 dev wounds. Remember, see before dev wounds were nerfed. This thing could kill. Imagine getting a couple of 6s and it was 24 more. But before dev wounds got changed to when they were mortal wounds, that would have been insane. It would have been absolutely insane. You can use this on your Oath of Moment target as well, right? And that was when Oath of Moment you could re-roll your wound rolls as well. We're not done though. It's got more guns, right? Oh, no. It's got the armor tracks. Okay, so... Oh, they made its melee a lot worse. It actually used to have really good armor tracks in the last edition. It does have more guns. It's got a multi-metal, a heavy bolter, or a storm bolter. Yeah, 515 points. That gun's so nice. You know what? So the maximum that gun can really do, though, now is about 60 damage. Remember last edition? That gun could actually do 144 damage a turn. Because it was 2d6 shots, 2d6 damage. So I guess if you rolled high on all your number of shots and all your damage, boom, 144 damage a turn. I would run it. It's like my pride and joy. It's the biggest tank. So, yeah. That's us this week. So I like running batshit crazy things that not anyone else does. I like to be competitive, don't get me wrong, but I do like to like to run crazy stuff if it's allowed. I never actually got to run that tank to a tournament. Maybe one day. Maybe I'll go to a Legends event one day. Cool. Okay, thank you so much for the list submissions this week, guys. Please like the stream if you did enjoy the stream tonight. I hope it was a good one. Wednesday night we've got Drukhari. So there'll be a battle report on Wednesday night against Drukhari. I'm trying to continue my streak in the Tabletop Tactics League, see if we can get a few more wins in there. I hope some of you guys have joined the Tabletop Tactics League. It's I think it's good. It's good fun. You should totally do it. Just search Tabletop Tactics on the App Store. You can join their open league, the Tabletop Tactics League. And my camera focus on that? Look at that. Tabletop Tactics League. Come join me in the league. I am 2 wins, 0 losses. I'm 57th on the leaderboard. Cool. You can bring Legends in the Tabletop Tactics League. Yes, they said Legends was okay. My list doesn't include any Legends, but mainly because none of my friends wanted to play with Legends in there. The other thing was we have got our date for RTT. Sorry, we're doing a GT this summer. So I'm going to be announcing the GT. If it's not this week, it'll be next week. But if any of you are in the UK and you want to come to our GT, when tickets go on sale, I imagine they're going to sell pretty quickly. So just keep an eye out for that. All right, guys, enjoy the rest of your weekend. I'll be here for the battle report on Wednesday night, and then I'll be around hopefully in Discord. Welcome to the new members. Please try and jump into Discord, and please hit like on the stream before you leave. And I'll see you guys Wednesday night, I think. I've got to beat Drukhari though, because Andrew almost won a tournament with that Drukhari, so it'll be interesting to see. And I think if I can win a few more games with this Blood Angels list with the double Predator Annihilator, I'm probably going to take that to the GT as well. Because I think Predator Destructors are better than people give them credit for. We'll see. Cool. All right. I better go. Have a nice evening, guys. You should play against Necrons and Custodes. I have a friend that plays Custodes, but the one guy that's played Necrons, or that I know that plays Necrons, I asked him to come on the channel. He hasn't played 10th edition yet. Some people are really upset still about 10th edition, right? Like, some people just don't want to give 10th edition the time of day. I guess there's too many changes or too many simplifications. So it's actually been quite hard to get some people to come play. Harder than I thought it was. But we'll see. Yeah, I would like to play Necron. I would like to play against double Catan Necron, because that seems to be what's everybody really struggling with right now. And I have no idea how I would do against that. So, we'll see. We'll see. Probably the first time I'll get to play them is an event and I'll get crushed. Cool. Alright, enjoy your evening, guys. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next week. Peace.